Okay, so it's March 28th. I'm doing the garden tour update. We did have 2 nights of pretty good frost here. It was like 37, but felt like 32 degrees. So I have a few things that I'm a little worried about, including this little pumpkin right here. I have a feeling I'm going to have to replant that guy. It looks like the Jahardal pumpkin's doing great, and then my peas are starting to grow. I did add this PVC pipe thing I had in the garage, and I just added some twine to it to give something for the peas and the beans to grow on. So I have 2 more peas that are planted in there. I'm waiting to pop up, and then I have 2 shoots of corn that'll come up too. The radishes look like they're doing great, and the nasturtium right here is doing really good. Over here, back here, I did go ahead and I pulled out the lemon bee balm. I combined it with the other one that I have, and that's the Navajo Sunset Agastache back there. In here, the melon still hasn't popped up, but the borage is growing. The peas are coming, not peas, the beans are coming up. And then over here, there's 2 things of corn coming up too. And I have a couple of radishes interplanted. That's a scallop squash. It looks like it's still going good. So I'm hoping that the cold didn't kill it. Now for the peppers, these have not grown much, and I think it's because it's too cold. So there's a little bit of growth on some of them. I'm a little concerned about some of the discoloration. So if these don't start taking off, I'm probably going to replant the peppers and start over on them with warmer heat. I need to do a little bit more research. I've heard that if you start them too early and it goes cold, it can stunt their production. So we'll see. But these are the jalapenos. There's a tiny bit of growth, not a ton. I do have the 3 onions popping up in there. You can see the little green right here, right there. And then over here, I have the bell peppers, and in here I did go ahead and plant some quick radishes in there, and I have some carrots planted in the middle. And the same thing goes for these. There is some new growth, but I'm having some curling, and I think I had a slug or something come through and eat some of this guy. So I'm just keeping an eye on what's going on there, and we'll see. I'm probably gonna have to replant. I added radishes around the outside edge of both of these pots. Something ate that pepper out of the middle. So once I get the habanada peppers to germinate, then I will put the habanada in here. And then this was a bell pepper, and it's being weird, so it's probably gonna have to be replaced. Over here I have the calendula, that's still growing great. Back in there I have the zucchini plants. I'm a little worried about this one right here, but the other ones seem to be doing great. And then there's a couple of turnips planted in there. And so we're just waiting to see how that bin does. Over here, the Zlotyland chamomile is getting bigger and bigger. And then the lemon verbena has way more sprouts on it. With my lemon thyme is still doing really good. My lavender, this is the French lavender, still has blooms on it. It's been a little cold. We haven't had a whole lot of pollinators over here. But I did go ahead and trim a little bit more of this. Okay, so in here I have, that red thing's not staying there, but I have all kinds of stuff in these bins. I'm a little concerned about the corn, but I don't know if you remember, but when I originally planted the corn, it took like twice as long as the longest time on the package said. So I didn't think it was going to survive, so I had planted more seeds in there. And then once these came up, I was like, oh crud, I have double the corn. So I had a couple of corn already start to turn black, so the frost really did damage those. So I'm letting some of the new corn come up, and we'll see what happens. I'll pull out what I don't need. So this one has corn, it has the vegetable squash right here, and then it has the peas. These are the purple potted pole beans, yeah. So these are going to keep getting bigger. I have another pole bean about to come up in here. You can see it like humped over right there. So just some of the corn looks a little funky. That one looks good. This one, like, it's really weird feeling, and so I have a feeling like that one's gonna go, but this is the new one that's coming up. So I'm hoping that'll help it survive. Luckily I had made that error. I went ahead and I put these little extra cages in here to help with the beans and with the cucumbers. Again, I'm a little worried about the cucumbers. I'm waiting to see what the next couple of days hold for these corn. You could see here, this is an example, and I think this is from the frost because it wasn't there before. But I'm just playing it by ear that this one, I have a feeling those corn are gonna go. And then so that's lemon cucumber squash, lemon cucumbers. And then over here I have a long cucumber. Again, I'm just watching the corn over here. I do have a borage in this one, and I did go ahead and put nasturtium in the front of both of these to have them kind of billow over the edge. I'm going to train them to billow over. My lettuce is doing great in these two containers. I've already trimmed stuff off of these two containers. I was given, my neighbor's moving, and I was given some of this raised bed dirt, and I was given a couple new containers. So I went ahead and used the dirt because that's what I was given. And then I had a little bit of dirt left over. So the raised bed dirt, some of it I put under here. And so I have nasturtiums planted under here, and then these really pretty bread seed poppies that are purple. So I'm hoping that's going to be covered in flowers underneath that, just to give a pop under there. So I just planted all those yesterday. That nasturtium was already popping up. I had an extra one, so I just popped it under there. So I went ahead and I added more, and we'll see what that does. Again, over here, the salad's doing really good. I've already been trimming this. It is super yummy. This is the Rocky Top lettuce mix from Baker Creek. The strawberries are still growing. They're tiny, but they're still doing good. They're adding a lot of extra little leaves on there. This tub has had some issues. This is the one something laid across or came across and ate. I had a bush bean come up, and then its leaves were all eaten out of it. So I went ahead and I pulled that out today, and I planted new seeds that I had soaking overnight. The beets are, like, the leaves are broken, and so it looks like something like laid across the middle of this and broke my leaves. So I don't know if my beets are actually going to take off or not. They've been in there for a while and they're not doing much. So I'm a little worried about them. And then those nasturtiums started to get eaten, which those are a trap crop. So that's fine if they get eaten. But so something laid across it, broke it, and started eating. So I don't know what's going on here. Back here I was given this tub, and so I planted radishes down the middle, quick radishes, so they should be pulled by the time the bush beans get big. And today I just planted bush beans in here, so I'm looking forward to being able to harvest bush beans. And this little wheelbarrow, I ended up just popping some dirt in there. It's a cute little decorative wheelbarrow, and I planted some poppies, the bread seed poppies, on top just to add some color and pop to it. My daughter loves the flowers, but then those seeds I can actually use as well. Come over this. So I have more Zloty Land chamomile is doing good. The bicolored marigolds, the lemon bee balm. This one is the older one that was planted in this pot already, and then I moved a couple smaller ones in there to really fill it out. And then the echinacea I thought had died, but it is actually starting to pop up in that container. So I'm excited that I'm going to have some echinacea growing. So I was given this pot as well because she was moving, and I'm excited about this. So right now I have zinnias over here. I have I'm trying out one of each beet on each side of that. And then I have some little turnips planted here. And then I have some seeds planted inside that once they start, I'll fill in some spots on this. This is a self-watering thing, so it's supposed to, once you have enough water underneath, this is supposed to start to come up. And then if you need to water it, it goes down to this level. So it has just a little bit of oomph to it right now. But it's gonna rain too, so I'm giving it a little bit of time. I moved the spinach underneath, and I had added some radishes in there where the spinach had died, so I'm hoping to get some spinach out of that, and then some zinnias down there. The lettuce underneath this is not doing as great. It's still growing, but it's definitely not as big. And my strawberries are still growing, but I'm not getting any color on them, so we'll see what happens there. My lavender's still the same. My mint had gotten this mildew on it, and I wasn't able, I kept trying to tear off those leaves and it wasn't doing much. So I talked to my aunt, and I ended up chopping everything off of this. It was just all of these stubs, and this is what has grown back, and there's no mildew. So I'm hoping that we have solved this, and then I'm gonna get a ton of peppermint off of this. It smells good. But I was really bummed I had to cut that. Over here, I think I had some slug or something come up here. Something ate my 2 leaves here, which I'm very angry with them for that, but it is what it is. I'm hoping those keep growing. But these are my basils. They're still little, but they're growing. And then my cilantro is still kicking. I have new cilantro seeds popping up in the middle. And then I have my dill, my lemon balm, which takes a long time for it to grow. A Swiss chard that I'm trying. And then these 2 are empty. I'm going to put stuff in them. This is the German chamomile that I'm letting grow. Down here, I'm going to harvest this oregano so it keeps bushing. But my oregano I started from seed is doing great. And then my thyme that I started from seed is doing great as well. And I went ahead and I put 1 little row of radishes in here. My carrots are looking beautiful. I'm hoping their roots are starting to develop. In here, I'm worried about the tomatoes and the tomatillos. They're still growing, but that frost, I don't know if these are going to die within the next day or so. That back tomato is looking a little sketchy. I do have a tomato started inside that I can move out to replace one of these, but I'm going to give it a few days and we'll see. I'm a little worried about the tomatoes though. That one back there is looking a little rough. I went ahead, I got these little baby carrots that are a 50-day variety, so I went ahead and I planted a row of baby carrots back here, and I still have the basil coming up strong here and the borage is growing. The tomatillos still have the spots on the original plants, the original leaves, but the new leaves that are growing do not have the spots. So I'm hoping by me feeding it, and then I'm going to leave it alone. We've been getting rain. I'm not going to water it a ton. And hopefully the new stuff stays healthy and we're good. I have basil coming up in the front here. I have a borage in the back that's growing. And then I did another row of the little baby carrots down the middle. I'm hoping that those will grow in time for me to be able to pull them before these tomato plants get big. So these were supposed to be the 29-day radishes. And when I pulled them at the 29 days, there was no bulb. So that was a week ago. And they've gotten a little bit bigger, but not a ton bigger. I am starting to get something that's starting to like pick on the leaves, but I'm hoping that these will, I'm gonna give them longer to grow. That marigold is getting bigger. This one is not as big. This one has a ton of like new growth on the leaves. In here I have the mountain mint. It's still growing. You can see like I don't know if you just saw that. My finger took it off, but there was a slug that went across here. It didn't eat it, thankfully. But there's mountain mint here, and then I did a row of radishes down the middle. That is more calendula. And then back here I have 2 sunflowers planted, one right here and one on the other side of that bucket, and they're supposed to get huge. I am seeing a little sprout close to where I planted it, so I'm hoping that those are going to take off. I'm just hoping a bug doesn't eat them. In here, this is a new bucket. I haven't even painted it. I was given this plant. She said it was a pineapple basil, but it was in a Bonnie plant container. And when I looked up the Bonnie plants, they don't sell a pineapple basil. They sell a pineapple sage. This plant smells delicious. It literally smells just like pineapples. So I'm really excited about this. I put it in this container here, and I'm going to put a yellow pear tomato in the middle, and then I'm going to put regular sage on the other side. Sage and tomatoes apparently do well together, so I'm just going to let this container have fun with that. And that's kind of what's going on. I got to clean up out here a little bit. But that's the update right now. Things are growing. We did just have defrost, so I'm really worried about a few of these plants. And like I had zinnias in the ground, and the slugs came and just stripped them gone. So I am going to be doing some more salt on the ground back here and stuff like that, trying to get I know the slugs are living in these bushes, slugs and snails. So they're in these bushes, they're in the ground around it, and so I'm going to put some salt around there, hoping to kill whatever decides to try to get my plants. But I don't want to use chemicals, and that's the hard part. Luckily, I'm in the container, and I think what's interesting is I think that's what ate this one was a slug, and that one didn't have pennies around it, but this one has pennies, and most of those pennies are older. So I think the copper trick worked. Because the one with the copper didn't die. I mean, the one with the copper didn't die. The one without the copper did die. So I'm hoping that I can get a few of these things to come back to life. I have to come out here and spray some essential oils on this bush. This is the apartment bush, but we have some red ants down here, and I realized that the red ants, get the name of her cat. The red ants are eating the aphids. So they're up here eating the aphids on this bush. And because of the quarantine shelter in place, the landscapers are doing very quick things. You can see all those aphids are doing very quick things. They're not coming through and like trimming this though. So I went across the top and I tried to trim some stuff, but I don't want all those aphids to fall in here either. So I know the ants are eating the aphid stuff. I'm going to spray the aphids. Eventually I'll get some ladybugs to put up there. And then I trimmed down these for the most part. There's still some new growth, but I trimmed down the top of these, and then I trimmed the bush that's back here. And I'm hoping that we can get these under control. But yeah, so that's the update. I hope that you like everything here. If you have any advice for the aphid and red ant situation, so far they're not on my regular plants. They're on this bush, but that's going to go away soon, and I know that. So, yeah, a little worried. But we're going to get some more rain again. I'm going to probably start a few things to kind of replace a couple of the peppers and a couple things in here. And then we'll go from there once the frost is over and the rain is over. But I'm looking forward to harvesting everything. My daughter's excited about the poppies and the green beans. They're all different colors. Like I have a pink and yellow green bean, a regular green bean. I have purple potted beans that turn green when you cook them. Hubby loves this lettuce, so that's great. I'm really excited about the self-watering tub over here, and it fits on the patio. She gave me that little table too, so I gotta finish organizing out here and cleaning it up a little bit. But that is my update for now, I would love to know what you guys are planting. If you have any advice, if you think those tomatoes are going to make it, or with peppers. And have a great week. Get in your garden and plant something. No matter what space you have, utilize it. If it's just a little bit, plant something and enjoy it and eat it. And God bless. I was going to show you guys what I'm trying inside. So I'm a Temptations lover, and I have a few things that are cracked that I can't really use in the oven anymore, but I don't want them to not be used or go in the trash. So this bowl right here is the Temptations pattern. It's stoneware, and so I planted some Rocky Top lettuce in there to try to grow lettuce inside. It's growing. I'm trying to keep it not super moist. And then I have some seeds started in here. I have stevia and red mustard, some regular sage, some basil lettuce leaf, common chives, and lettuce butter crunch. That's another mountain mint sitting right here. My rosemary keeps growing. It's doing great. That's one of my tomatoes that I have. I do have a couple of the mini bell peppers that I can put into those containers back there. I have the habanadas that haven't germinated yet. Over here, what I tried too was trying some lettuce, spinach, chard, and cabbage in these jars. So I don't know how this is going to work in the long run. I do want to try a cilantro inside as well. So that's probably what's going to go in this jar over here is cilantro. But so far they're growing. So that one's the Merville. This one is, there's nothing up on this one yet. It's a red lettuce. The Swiss chard, nothing's up yet. The spinach, I have a couple things coming up. And then the Calibos cabbage is a red cabbage. And you can see that little sprout right there. I kind of need to move it over, but it is what it is. And then that's an Emily basil that I have. So I'm trying them out. We'll see how they do. I just know it's going to get hot here in zone 9. And so I wanted to try to continue growing inside. This window gets a ton of light. I'm a little worried about once the tomatoes get big, it blocking the light right here. So I do have this 3 light fixture, which will help give the light. It gets on for 12 hours. And I won't be starting as many seats coming in the near future. So some of these, as they get bigger, will get moved over onto this table. But that is my inside setup right now. It's nothing fancy, but it's growing some food indoors and experimenting. So I'm not hurting much by experimenting in the jars and in the dishes over here. So wish me luck.